Night on the northern steppe, sometime in the 1180s. An army that should not exist is crossing a river in the dark. 40,000 riders on rafts of bundled reeds, horses swimming beside them, no torches, no horns. They have crossed half the steppe for this, and every man knows the order. No mercy until the signal. Ahead of them, on the Buura steppe by the river Selengd, lies the camp of the Mare Kit, asleep. The unwritten law of the tribe says what is about to happen cannot happen. Clans raid each other for horses, for grain, for wives, but no outcast assembles kings to do it for him. The man who called this army into being was born with nothing. No clan, no herds, no allies, no name worth fearing. 10 years before this night, he was a barefoot boy digging for roots on a mountainside, abandoned by his own people to die. Tonight he is here for one thing, and it is not plunder. Somewhere in that camp is a woman who was stolen from him, and he has come across the roof of the world to take her back. The raid will work. It will work so well that the steppe will spend the next 20 years bleeding for it. The boy's name was Temujin. The world will know him by another name, a name that does not exist yet because he is going to have to invent it himself. Genghis Khan. This is how it begins, with a raid and with everything that came before it. Understand the raid and you understand the man. So we go back before the army, before the oath, before the name, to a camp on the Onon in the year 1162, or near enough that no one will ever prove otherwise. He is born on the bank of the Onon to Yesuge, a minor chief of the Borjigin, and to Ho-E-Lun, a woman Yesuge stole from the Mare Kit on her wedding journey. Remember that detail. The raid we just watched was not ambition. It was a debt being collected one generation later. The secret history, the one Mongol account of his life, written by men who knew him, says the infant came into the world clutching a blood clot in his right fist, the size of a knucklebone. The soothsayers said it meant he would be a conqueror. The steppe had heard omens before. It was rarely wrong about the expensive ones. Yesuge names the boy Temujin after a Tatar chieftain he has just captured. This is the steppe's idea of a joke and a boast in one. My son will grow up to be what you were, only mine. It is also a confession. The Mongols of his day do not build, they take. Understand his world, because it explains everything he does. 12th century Mongolia is not a nation. It is a scattering of feuding clans on a grassland the size of Western Europe, herding horses between rivers, worshipping the eternal blue sky, and killing each other in a blood feud cycle so old no one remembers the first insult. They have no writing, no cities, no stone. What they have is the horse, the composite bow, and a code. Hospitality is sacred, kinship is everything, and the vendetta outlives the grave. A wrong done to your grandfather is a debt you are born owing, in either direction. Over them all, far to the southeast, sits the Jin dynasty of northern China, which keeps the tribes weak the way you keep wolves weak. You feed the ones that fight each other and poison the ones that grow strong. The steppe's poverty is not an accident of geography. It is a policy. Temujin grows up a chief's son, which on the steppe means he eats. He has brothers, Kasar, Kachiyun, Temuge, a half-brother Bekter, a half-brother Belgute, and a sister, Temulun. His childhood is horses, cold, and the education of a boy who will never sit a desk in his life. When he is 9, by the secret history's count, his father takes him east to find him a wife. Among the Onjirat, a people famous for the beauty of their women, Yesuge meets a man named De Sechen, who has a daughter. Her name is Börte. She is 10. The betrothal is struck the way steppe betrothals are struck. The boy is left with the bride's family as a pledge and a helper, and Yesuge rides home alone. On the way, he comes across a group of Tatars feasting in a yellow field, and the law of hospitality says they must feed him. The Tatars know him. Of course they know him. He named his son after a man he took from them. Hospitality is sacred, so they feed him. And because the vendetta is also sacred, they poison the food. Both laws are obeyed. This is the steppe in one gesture. They kill him with his own protection. The poison works on him for 3 days on the road. By the time Yi Suge reaches his own tent, he is dying, and he has time for one act as a father. He sends his man Munglik riding east to fetch the boy out of the betrothal, so that the son comes home in time to watch what the steppe does to fathers. Consider what Temujin is at this moment, 9 years old. His father murdered by the law of hospitality. His family now a widow, a second widow Yasuge also kept, and 7 children between them. And on the steppe, a family without a grown man is not a family. It is a herd waiting to be claimed. He buries his father, and the clan holds a ceremony for the dead. The Tai Chi Ud, his father's own kin, the people his family led, hold the ancestral feast. The widow Ho-A Lun is not given her share of the offering. This is not an insult, it is a sentence. To deny a woman the feast is to declare she is no longer of the clan. The Tai Chi Ud have looked at Yasuge's camp and done the arithmetic every steppe clan does. The herds are worth taking, the widow is not worth feeding, and the eldest son is 9. The decision is announced not with words, but with departure. One old man protests. The secret history gives him a name and a spear wound for his trouble. The Tai Chi Ud ride out with the animals, the felt, the retainers, everything that makes survival possible, and they leave behind, on the bank of the Onon, 2 women and 7 children. Every chronicle agrees on what happens next, because it is the hinge of the entire century. The family should die. That is what abandonment means on the steppe. Winter is coming, and the steppe has a clean word for people who cannot feed themselves. It calls them dead. What happens instead is Ho-A Lun. The secret history, which does not praise idly, stops its narrative to honor her. She ties her belt tight, she raises her skirt, she takes the children up and down the banks of the Onon, and she finds food where there is no food. Wild onions, garlic bulbs, roots dug with sharpened sticks. The boys learn to fish the frozen river, to snare marmots, to shoot birds with bone-tipped arrows. Temujin is the eldest son. He is 10, 11, 12, and every day he is not hungry is a day he has personally extracted from a landscape that is trying to kill his family. This is the making of him, and it matters more than the blood clot, more than the Omen. Empires are not built by men who had comfortable childhoods. The years on the Onon teach him the 2 lessons his whole career runs on. Hunger makes people loyal to whoever feeds them, and family is not blood. Family is whoever does not ride away. Watch what he does with that second lesson. When he is a Khan, his generals will not be his cousins. They will be a herdsman's son, a blacksmith's boy, shepherds from a rival's camp, men from conquered tribes who swore to him and were believed. The meritocracy that scares the medieval world starts here, in the lesson of the abandoned camp. But that is later. For now they are vermin in the grass, and the Tai Chi Ud know it. And a thing the steppe understands about vermin is that you do not let it grow teeth. The clan watches the widow's camp from a distance, the way you watch a fire you decided not to finish. Inside the camp, the pressure does what pressure does. Temujin is growing into his authority, and authority in a starving family is rationed the same as food. His half-brother Börte, older by some tellings, strong heir by most, begins to take what is Temujin's to distribute. Small things first, then a lark, then a fish. Temujin and his full brother Kasar have worked for these things in a camp where every calorie is accounted for, and Börte consumes them because he can. It is the oldest crime there is, the strong eating the work of the weak. In a rich camp, it is a beating. On the Onon, in the fourth winter of abandonment, it is something else. Temujin goes to his mother. The secret history records a scene because everything about this man is recorded. He asks her permission, or he tells her, and Ho-E-Lun answers with the only law she has left. They are your brothers. We have no friends but our shadows. Do not do this. He does it anyway. Temujin and Kasar find Börte sitting on a knoll, watching the family's 9 horses, and they come at him the way they will later come at everything, from 2 directions at once, bows drawn. Börte does not beg. He says, "Do not extinguish my hearth. Spare Belgute." Then he sits still, and they shoot him. He is perhaps 14. He has just killed his brother, and his mother's grief arrives like a weather front. The secret history gives her a lament that strips him to nothing. You came from my womb with a clot in your fist, and you have used it on your own blood. It is the first entry in the Ledger of Temujin. It will not be the last. Word travels on grass. The Tai-Chi-Ud hear that the widow's eldest has killed a man now, that he hunts like a wolf and plans like a chief, and they make the assessment any sensible clan makes. The vermin has teeth. So they ride to the Onon, not to reconcile, to collect. Temujin runs for the thickets on the mountain and holds out for days. But Hungar is a better hunter than any clan, and when he comes out, they take him. He is, by the best guess, 15 or 16. The Tai-Chi-Ud put a Cangue on him, a yoke of heavy wood locked across his neck and wrists, the Steppe's sentence for slaves. Then they parade him. Each family of the clan keeps him for a night, in rotation, so that every tent in the Tai-Chi-Ud camp can look at what happens to chief sons who think they are wolves. He eats from other men's charity with a plank on his shoulders. It is meant to break him. It is a census. Because that is the thing about humiliation. It is a transfer of information. He spends his captivity learning the Tai-Chi-Ud from inside. How many tents? How many warriors? Who is cruel? Who is kind? Who stands watch badly? One family, headed by a man named Sorkan Shira, shows the boy small mercies. He does not forget that either. On the night of a summer feast, the whole camp drinks, and his guard is a careless boy. Temujin lifts the Cangue and brings it down on the boy's skull, and then he is running, still yoked, into the dark, with a clan full of warriors sobering up behind him. He goes to the river, not into the forest, because a hunted man thinks of the forest, and so do his hunters. He lies down in the Onon itself, in the reeds, with the Cangue as a raft, and only his face above the water. And the search parties walk the banks all night, close enough that he can hear them curse him. And here the Ledger swings the other way. It is Sorkan Shira who finds him, the man who showed him mercy, and instead of shouting the alarm, he says, quietly, "It is because you are like this that they fear you. Lie still." And when the search moves on, Temujin does the boldest thing he has done yet. He walks to Sorkan Shira's own tent and trusts. They hide him in a cart of wool. They burn the broken Cangue. They give him a mare, a bow, cooked lamb, and no saddle, and they send him home across the steppe. Years later, when Temujin owns the world, Sorkan Shira's family will be raised above tribes. The Ledger remembers both columns, always. He goes home to the Onon, to the ger that should not exist, to the family that should be dead. He is maybe 17. He has been a chief's son, a beggar, a fratricide, a slave, and a fugitive. And he is about to become something the steppe has a special word for. A man who collects other men. It starts with horses. Thieves run off 8 of the family's 9 horses, nearly all the wealth on earth they have, and Temujin takes the 9th and rides the thieves down alone for days across the steppe. On the way, he meets a stranger his own age, a herdsman's son named Börte, who does not know him at all and joins the chase because the boy asks like a chief and rides like a wolf. They get the horses back. And here is the thing Börte does. He does not go home. No oath is asked, no payment offered. He simply stays, and he will still be there 40 years later as the greatest general of the Mongol Empire. This is the first time the gravity works. It will not be the last. Then Temujin goes to collect the one thing his father left him, Börte. He rides east to the Anjurat, to S01E01, the man who betrothed a 10-year-old to a chief's son, and presents himself, a wanted, landless, brother-killing fugitive with 9 horses. S01E01 keeps the bargain anyway. The steppe respects nerve. Börte comes home with him, and her mother sends a gift that will change history, a coat of black sable. On the steppe, sable is not clothing. It is a bank, a treaty, a crown, all in one garment. The safe thing is to keep it. Temujin looks at the coat and sees something worth more than warmth. He is not going to wear it. He takes the sable to Togrul. Togrul is the Khan of the Cangue, the most powerful man on the central steppe, and years ago he was Anda, sworn brother to S01E01. Temujin kneels to him and gives away the single most valuable object his family owns, and he says, "You were brother to my father, be father to me." It is the single best trade of the 12th century. For one coat, he buys the protection of a Khan, the memory of his father's Anda, and a place in the politics of the steppe. Togrul, old, vain, and moved, gives him more than protection. He gives him his father's people. The families who scattered when S01E01 died begin, one fire at a time, to come home. And in Togrul's orbit, he finds Jamuka again, his childhood Anda, the boy he once swore brotherhood with on the ice of the Onon, who is now everything Temujin is not. Rich, handsome, witty, noble-born, with a clan behind him in the steppe's ear. Between them is an oath twice sworn, and it has never yet been tested. For one season, it is a life. Then the Merkit come, 300 riders out of the north at dawn, and they have not come for horses. They have come to collect a debt from before Temujin was born. S01E01 stole Onon from a Merkit husband, and Merkit law says a wife for a wife. The vendetta has arrived for Börte. There are not enough horses. The secret history records it without mercy. The family scatters into the hills, and Börte, his wife of one season, is hidden in a covered ox cart by an old servant woman named Coachin and driven into the dark. The axle breaks. The Merkit find the cart, and both women are taken alive, north, into the debt. Temujin escapes to the mountain, to Burkhan Khaldun, the sacred peak, and the secret history gives him a prayer that every Mongol after him will know. He beats his chest, he faces the sun, he pours mare's milk on the ground, and he swears, "My life was saved by this mountain. I will honor it forever." Then he comes down and does the arithmetic of the steppe. He cannot fight the Merkit. He has perhaps 100 men and a famous coat's worth of credit. So he walks into Togrul's great gare and asks the old Khan to remember the sable. And he sends to Jamuka and asks his Anda to remember the oath. He spends everything he has at once on one throw. And the steppe answers. Togrul gives 20,000. Jamuka gives 20,000. And Jamuka, who loves the theater of command, takes charge of the whole campaign plan. For the first time in living memory, an outcast with no clan stands at the head of an allied army. This is the army from the cold open. This is the night at the river. The Merkit scouts see them crossing the river and get one warning off, but it is too late for anything but flight. The allied army comes out of the dark like weather, and the camp of the Merkit, which woke that morning as owners of a stolen woman, does not survive the night as an organized thing. In the chaos, it is the commander who calls. Temujin rides through the fleeing crowds on the Selenge bank, crying her name into the dark, "Börte, Börte," And from somewhere in the fugitive column, a woman hears that voice, knows it, gets down from her cart, and seizes his reins. The secret history, usually so spare, lets the moment breathe. The victory is total. The Merkit are scattered to the winds, their herds taken, their people parceled out. And because nothing on the steppe is clean, the chronicles must record the shadow inside the rescue. Börte comes home pregnant, and the father of the child is unknowable. The child will be named Jochi, a name later generations would read as guest, and the question of his blood will hang over the empire's succession like a sword on a thread for 50 years. Watch what Temujin does. He never, not once in these years, treats the boy as anything but his eldest son. Whatever he believes, he decides the answer. It is the most private proof that the Ledger is his law, not biology. Now look at what the raid actually bought. Not a wife, she was the reason, not the prize. The prize is this: the outcast commanded kings and won. The steppe has watched a man with nothing call 2 armies into existence and use them like a veteran. Herds and warriors do the math that herds and warriors always do. Within a year, men are deserting their own chiefs to join him. Not for pay, there is no pay. They come because of the stories. He shares the plunder to the last man. He promotes by merit. He buried his brother and honors his mother's curse and repays wool cart mercies with lordships. The gravity has a name now, and men are beginning to say it. And Jamuka watches all of it. His Anda, his sworn brother, the poor relation he helped out of brotherly love, is becoming the sun that lesser fires go out around. The secret history says they camped together for 1.5 years after the raid. It does not say what Jamuka was thinking. It does not have to. Because the steppe is about to learn the real lesson of this episode, and it is not that love conquers all. And it is not that the boy was lucky. It is this: loyalty, justice, revenge, and mercy are all the same currency to him, and he spends them with the same precision he spent the sable coat. On himself, he spends nothing. Next time on the Warlord Archive, the Blood Brothers War. Jamuka and Temujin, 2 men with the same dream and 1 step to put it on, move from one blanket to opposite horizons. Boilings, betrayals, and the day the Anda Oath finally comes due. Season 1, Episode 2, The Man Who Would Not Share.